Hello.
Hello.
All right, we're just going to give it a couple of more minutes and then we'll get started.
Ooh, I'm seeing some names of folks that it's been a little bit, so nice to see some of you. Maybe you have been to recent meetings. I haven't been to, I wasn't at last meeting, so it's possible that you were at the last meeting, but there are a couple of you I haven't seen in a while, so good to see you. Welcome back. Thank you, Maricela, and thanks those of you that are helping us keep track of everyone on the call. As you know, we do take attendance, especially important for the residents. So keep adding those in there or communicating with folks who is on the line with you if you are not alone.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Jose Fernandez from Etiquette. Are you guys going to start interpretation mode right now, or would you make an announcement first? Because I still don't see the interpretation function on my end.
It's on. Is everyone at Linguistica having the same issue?
I think you only added Tanya, the other interpreter, and we're taking turns every 20 minutes. I'll need to be added as well as an interpreter, please.
I'm seeing nodding from Zong, so I think we can take care of that.
Yeah, Jessica, will you add her? Thank you, Jose.
No problem. Do you need my email address to be added, or do you just
No,
already
it
have
should pop up right now.
Got it. Thank you.
And while Jessica's adding that, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you all, Anabel and the group. It's so great to see you during the daylight. I don't think we've ever been on together and we can see you clearly and you're not in the dark. So it's very wonderful to see everyone tonight. I'm going to pass it to my colleague Jessica to kick us off.
Okay, I want to confirm, Jose did, oh, well, we can't even hear him, but I see that it says yes. Perfect. All right, so welcome everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, and if I can get a thumbs up that I am only sharing the actual presentation. Okay, thank you, Amy. Welcome everybody. Today is Monday, March 14th, and we are gathered here today for meeting number 41 of the Shafter Community Steering Committee.
Thank you, Jessica. And it looks like we're in your presenter mode. I can see your
Okay.
multiple slide decks.
Okay. Swap. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, Heather, nice to see you. I see you in my screen there. Before we get started, we are asking that you please mute yourself and make sure your full name and organization are showing as your screen name. To change your screen name, click on the top right side of your picture or video. CSC members, please use the naming convention CSC first and last name. And if you are a resident, are first and last. All other participants, please use first, last, dash affiliation. So AD for Air District, CARB for California Air Resources Board, and P for General Public. Any other organizations, please write your organization name. The meeting host may also update your screen name, and if you need any assistance, please reach out to any of us. Okay, and a reminder that this is important so that we can track CSC members for their stipend. I am going to present these in Spanish, and I'm going to leave it there for a few seconds so that the Spanish members can read it.
Hi, Jessica. Can you give Mari permission to record, please?
Of course.
Thank you. Hello, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I had to log out and log back in because if you needed me to give instructions, I think my audio wasn't working, but I'm glad it's working now.
Okay, perfect. And you are on briefly, actually. If you are a monolingual English speaker, please select the Words Like Interpretation icon at the bottom of the screen and select English. If you're using Zoom via phone or tablet, you're going to select the 3 dots to see more options, followed by interpretation and then English. And then lingüística, if you can repeat that in Spanish.
Buenas tardes. Para poder accesar a la interpretación el día de hoy, si ustedes están utilizando una computadora, en la parte baja de su pantalla van a ver el icono de un mundo. Seleccionen el canal de español y los invitamos a seleccionar silenciar el audio original para que no escuchen 2 voces. Si están utilizando un teléfono celular o una tableta, presionen los 3 puntitos que aparecen en su pantalla. Luego van a ver la opción de interpretación de idioma. Luego seleccionen español y por último tienen que seleccionar listo, done, finalizar o terminar para que puedan escuchar la junta en español. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Okay. Virtual meeting etiquette. Stay on mute unless you are speaking or planning to speak. If you are on the phone, please use *6 to do that. In order to raise your Zoom hand over the phone, you'd use *9. and you would raise your Zoom hand to ask a question during a presentation Q&A. Residents in the stipend program should stay for at least 75% of the meeting to be eligible for a stipend. And that means for our 2-hour meeting today, you would need to be here for 90 minutes. Productive discussion and respectful dialogue. Again, to help achieve the meeting goals, we're going to focus on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue. Let everyone participate, step up and then step back. Be civil and respectful. It's okay to disagree, but please be respectful, empathetic, and civil. Stay on point and on time. Please keep comments brief and to the point. This will allow enough time for everyone to participate. Attack the problem, not the person. Respectfully challenge ideas or outcomes, never attack the person. Honor every person's humanity and dignity. Seek common ground. Building consensus and finding shared values will help achieve the best results. And here they are in Spanish. Okay, today's agenda. We will have the welcome and introductions. We are going to review the action items tracker. Cargo is going to present their sustainability study. We're going to go over the SERP measure prioritization results. Standing updates, wrap up next steps, and public comments. Okay, and let me stop sharing.
Hi, Jessica.
Yes.
Can you make Madi not a co-host so that she can record?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. Let me stop sharing. All right. Let me do that really quick before I move on. Okay. So now I'm going to pass it to Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Olson. I am the Director of Community Strategies and Resources with the Air District. I know almost all of you, but it's been a bit for some of us. I have missed some meetings and I know some of you have had an opportunity to do a variety of other things, but we're happy to have you. It's been a minute since I've seen a few of you. I just want to welcome you all and thank you all for the preparation for today's meeting. We have a great presentation that's kind of been pending for a little bit, so we're excited to bring back Rob Ball from the Kern Council of Governments, and he'll talk a little bit about one of the topics we've discussed in the past, which is a truck study, and kind of get some feedback from you all just on a lot of efforts that they're doing. But I also want to introduce our gracious co-host. She's a resident in the community, Michelle McManus. She did such a great job. You'll notice, and I'll pass for any sort of opening words, but you'll notice the agenda looked a little bit different and the email looked a little bit different for tonight's meeting. And that's all to the great input that Michelle provided during the agenda setting meeting. So those that were there maybe heard it, but then also in a couple of coordination calls we had with her. And that was really to provide transparency about what we're actually discussing in these meetings. So we have actual links that don't just say click here, but say the name of the document we want you to open, and a lot of other great changes that we've worked with Michelle to provide. So I want to welcome you all and thank Michelle and turn it over to Michelle if you have any opening remarks.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Yeah, they worked really hard on this. I was having some problems with the drop down and trying to keep up the information of what was going on, the chat box, and sometimes I go to the website and I wasn't able to, you get busy and you can't find what you're looking for. So we made the agenda. When you get the email, if you click on agenda, it'll tell you all that. And then you can click on the stuff in there. Like, I don't remember what the truck refrigeration units mean. So then you can click on that and it can go to that. It'll talk about what we're going to be talking about. And, you know, even the review action item tracker, you can go to that and like, I looked at, you know, what did we talk about last month? What were we tracking? And then actually there was a whole bunch of months there. So I scanned through them all and it said whether it was completed or what actions it'd take. And for me, it's then I can focus on what everybody's saying when they're talking instead of trying to switch back and forth between screens. So welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. It's such a pleasure. I really love your energy. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it to the Air District to review the action items tracker.
Hi, thank you so much, Jessica. My name is Zong Song, and I'm sure many of you have received many of my emails. And so I'm going to go over the, this is our running action item tracker. And this is a little bit new for this CSC. We've done it at with a couple of our other CSCs. So just wanted to share, share where you can find it. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hold on a second. A couple of windows here, but I wanted to show where you can find it. So can you see my screen? It's the main Shafter community web page. And so if you go on this page, the Shafter running action item can be found right here. So if you click here, you'll get the chart, and let me blow it up a little bit. So at the top will be the ones that are the action items that are in progress that we're working on. And then underneath that will be those that have been completed. And I will review the one that came from the last CSC meeting. And that one was, the action item was to reopen the survey so that we can try to get more feedback from CSC members who did not complete the survey at that time. And we worked with our EJ advocates, in particular with Gus and Gustavo. And thank you so much. Just a shout out to him for volunteering and helping us try to get more feedback for the survey. So that has been completed. And so that has been moved down here. And then the other current in progress or pending item is this action item here. The Air District will be releasing a mini grant program to diversify outreach and education strategies. Everyone should help spread awareness of the mini grant program. This is in progress, and we are in the process of doing that. And I'm going to also hand it off to, I don't know if Jamie's here yet, but to Heather, who will provide a little bit more feedback on that. And let me stop sharing so everyone can see Heather.
Well, that's much better. And I can see everyone. I prefer that too. Heather Hanks here on the outreach team. Nice to see all of you. We are busy working on an application, essentially, and guidelines that would support a mini grant effort. And by that, we mean putting together small grants that the advocate agencies and the organizations within the community, those folks that live and engage with the public there, could apply for small amounts of money, $2,000 to $3,000, to do specific grassroots outreach in your community. That could be a whole variety of things, and not everyone will do everything. But whatever your strengths are, and we encourage you, we'll get the application and guidelines out, and we'll share it, of course, with you guys first before anything, because you guys are the folks at the table and been with us all along, and really the ones that know what we need to get done. When I say get done, that could be canvassing in a neighborhood. You go door to door and talk to folks with flyers that we've produced, or maybe you host a quick event at the library or at, you know, your community gathering place wherever you live, and do a presentation, maybe to your church group or to others, or it could be any variety of things, and we're open to very broad ideas. So once we're at the point where we've got the application in front of us and asking you to apply, we welcome all the concepts that you can think of. We all know that we need to physically be present in the community, and this would give us the breadth for which to do that, right? The strength in numbers, the boots on the ground, to canvas and really deliver very important information into the community.
And if there are any questions, I will take them. I was just looking back at something. This could be, applications could come from schools. It could come from that teen club that we talked about. It could come from student groups, service clubs, youth organizations, church groups, nonprofits, all of those folks, located within the boundary of the district that could do this work in the community. Gus.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Gus with CCJN. Awesome announcement. So this is specific to AB617 chapter, or is this a program at the Valley Air District?
Specific to AB617. We're going to start with you guys, you and Fresno, and essentially Stockton, and kind of get it off the ground. But yes, it's very specific to AB617 and outreach in the AB617 communities. Yes. Right on.
And the outreach would be, I'm assuming Valley Air District centric, right? So like the potential measures, like CERT measures and activities around 617, et cetera. All of the things that you can think of. Maybe we're gathering information to make some decisions. Maybe it's canvassing because the new grant program just got approved and the money's here. Maybe we would have done the lawnmower event potentially, although you guys did a great job recruiting folks for that. And I thank you for that. But yes, any and all of those concepts are what we're looking to vet and potentially fund. Right on. And I heard you mention like school groups, church, NGOs. Are residents allowed to do that? Like resident, like a cluster of residents, for example? That's a very good question. I think they need some kind of structural status, or I don't think we can pay you directly individually, but we'd need to align you with the teen club or the group. You've got to find a framework for that, kind of like we leaned on Community for a Better Shafter, I believe, for the group that helped us out at the lawnmower event. Right on. Okay. Yeah. And I think I missed it, but when are applications open for that? And you will be the first to know. I've got the draft going right now, very soon, within the next, I'm guessing 2 weeks, Jess, hopefully. Yeah, maybe even less than that. Yep. Yep. Exciting. Cool. Thank you.
I see Michelle's hand raised.
Yeah, Michelle, sorry.
So Heather, so what you're saying is the group that you have supplies the labor and the manpower to get the word out, and then they get not a donation, but they get the grant to use wherever they want. If they wanted to plant roses at the high school or at the ag farm, then it's the labor end of it. We're actually going to ask you to detail in the application those costs. We'd like to see the breakdown. It's not so much like I'm going to donate and you're going to plant roses and also help me with this. The action that we're looking for, like when you apply, would be, hey, we're going to send 6 people on Saturday and they're going to spend about 3 hours each and they're going to go to this event. And this concept is, hey, we're going to host a 2-hour meet and greet and open the doors at the community center and receive information, receive the public to talk to them. It would need to be specified within reason. There's definitely flexibility and sort of some gray area that we can have as we get the application going, but we would need to hone it down into some very specific actions. It might even include like expenses on the behalf of the agency. They want to, can't think of something, but they want to hand something out or they want something tangible. We might even work with them in advance and purchase said tool that is going to support the idea that they've come up with. It could be fairly complicated or very, very simple as hours in the community handing out flyers. I think we are open to the whole gamut, if that makes sense.
And I think all of that will be specified in the grant application.
Yes. The grant application is going to ask you who you are. It's going to ask you what you're intending to achieve. So you can't just say, hey, give me $2,000 and I'm going to talk about air quality. It's going to say, hey, again, back to some of the finite details, within reason. We'll get into some of the actual work that would occur based on the grant being distributed.
All right, Michelle, give you a thumbs up.
Yay.
All right, I just want to make sure we're keeping track of the time. Are we ready to move on to the cargo presentation? Yes, okay, perfect. So yeah, and I believe he will be presenting, Rob will be presenting his own slides, sharing. Before I pass it to him, I do want to let everybody know that there will be an activity towards the end. So the Spanish speakers who are on all together in one room, we are going to ask you all to, when it's time to for that slide, we're going to ask you to each verbally say the letter in question. For everybody else, we're going to ask that you chat it. I just wanted to give you a heads up before I passed it officially to Rob. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I want to thank the Air District for allowing us to do this presentation as a part of our outreach for the cargo study. And we'll talk a little bit about that. This presentation being put on by KernCog. KernCog is the Regional Transportation Planning Agency. And we've actually been participating in the 617 process. Many of you may know Linda Urata, and I want to thank her for monitoring the process. We realized early on that some of the projects that we were doing actually kind of dovetail in well into what's happening there. Kern Council of Governments is represented by all the governments, local governments within the region, and we try to provide as much public representation as possible. So it's just a real good honor to be able to kind of tap into this group and key residents within the Shafter area of what's going on and what you guys see as important, because we find that when our plans and how we plan the expenditures for transportation funding, it's best to have those from a grassroots representation. So I appreciate that. And there will be sort of a one question test at the end. In the chat, we're going to ask you about that. I'll explain that to you. So you might want to figure out where your chat button is to be able to put that in. So let me jump into the so KernCog talked a little bit about it. I work for Kathy Proud, who I think is now mayor of Shafter, and David Couch, who also I believe has representation up in the Shafter area. We have 2 of our county board of supervisors, total of 11 cities that sit on KernCog's board. So it's a nice one-stop shop to figure out, well, are we going to build this transportation project? Are we going to spend money on bikeways? Are we going to spend money on transit? What all those types of decisions come to the COG. Well, one of the key hoops that we jump through at KernCog is not making the air quality worse with those transportation expenditures. And we've been doing a pretty good job with the help of the Air District. You can see since 1980, we've removed about 75% of the air pollution from the air. And during that time, our population has doubled. And so that's pretty impressive. And it's because of large part because of clean technology. But if you see over on the far right side, about a quarter of the remaining emissions may be heavy duty trucks. Trucks is a key area in the there, and we've got to reduce by 2038 about 90% of the remaining emissions to meet the emerging standards that are coming up. So in talking about air quality and health, it's really important that we have a balanced approach in how we address air quality and health within the region. And there's an organization called the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation that actually does health rankings of counties. And you can see San Joaquin Valley consistently ranks near the worst areas within the region. But it's interesting that their process, their methodology for ranking that, about 40 over half or close to half of the missions or the ranking is based upon the economics of a local community. Do these folks have access to good jobs, and do those good jobs have health benefits? A lot of those issues are also based upon an individual's choice of behavior, you know, if they're smokers or those types of things. All those factor into that. And if we were to 100% clean up the air, we still have these other factors such as the economy and that we need to be addressing. And so it happens to be on the economic side of balancing of some of the issues is if we can invest more in transportation, particularly efficient, cleaner transportation, that lowers the distribution cost for the products, our agricultural products that are grown in the area, and can expand the market area, which then creates a lower cost for consumers, increases the demand, and then creates a need for more production, which results in more jobs and greater economic opportunities within the area. And that greater economy, that growth in that economy, some of that can be invested back into your transportation arena. And this can create an upward economic spiral for your region, and is one of the few areas that government can actually invest in, and that we can see creation of an upward economic spiral that then creates opportunities for us to address air quality issues and those types of things. And you guys have long recognized that in the AB617 process. You guys have been looking at the not only the environmental aspects, the maps here from your guys' report on emissions, but you've also identified some key strategies, incentivizing programs for heavy duty truck replacement with zero emissions, incentive programs for deployment of clean yard trucks, enhancing enforcement statewide of anti-idling regulations, incentives for program for replacing older diesel rail cars and locomotives, supporting planning development, clean vehicle fueling infrastructure. All of these are some of the strategies, and we hope to come alongside you in seeing some of these strategies implemented faster and better. So in balancing that, one of the first two studies I want to talk about is called the I-5 Zero Emissions Route Operations, or Zero Sustainability Study. And this is actually looking at truck technology and how we can improve truck technology. The second one is the cargo study, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. On the Freight Zero, we've gone through with UC Davis, and they've identified all of the trucking technologies that are currently available. Ultra clean diesel, battery electric, hydrogen fuel cell, these emerging technologies. And they went out and they tried to test what was available today. And unfortunately, the only thing that's really available out there in the market that they could get their hands on was the ultra clean diesel. And so they've tested some trucks going up and down I-5 and looked at the emissions related to that, but they're also getting the information that is from the hydrogen and other sources to try and create a path and a little pamphlet for small and mid-size truck operators to try and show them, hey, these are the technologies that are coming, that are currently available, that might have a migration path for you to clean zero. So kind of create an incentive as well as some information to help these trucking companies convert their systems. So that's one area, and I think it dovetails with some of your guys' strategies. The second one is the cargo study. Cargo stands for Kern Area Regional Goods Movement Operations Sustainability Study. fancy name. We created the acronym so we could get the grant, but cargo. And it's looking at existing and planned land uses. And you can kind of see on this map the light purple or pinkish areas. Those are the industrial areas. A lot of them are vacant, large areas of industrial that could generate trucks within the future. And one of the things that we're looking specifically at is ways of routing these trucks away from populated areas. And the committee has come up with this purple dash line that is looking at potential ways to avoid schools, which are the little orange squares that are on this map. And this comes in line, helps implement your heavy duty strategy 9 for heavy duty truck rerouting that's in the CERT plan. And we've done some modeling. If we don't build anything and we continue to see these areas grow, particularly industrial, we're going to see a lot of truck growth. That's what the fat red lines are on this map, greater than 450 trucks per day out in the future. But if we can build new facilities, we can see a reduction of some of that concentration of the truck and help kind of diffuse it and avoid some of the more urban areas. And one of the key things that we're also looking at is ways to promote more shipment by rail. And you see the charts on the left of this, you can see that rail is probably as much as 10 times less polluting when you're shipped by rail. That's in terms of CO2 emissions. And so it's if we can ship by rail, that's shipping things more efficient. More efficient also happens to mean cheaper. And so these yellow lines going up and down the state connecting to the ports, you know, if we can get these trucks off the highways and onto rail, maybe there's a way to get from Shafter. You're familiar with the city of Shafter's container yard that they've built there. This could allow us to get more trucks off the highways. So another potential strategy. Also with the implementation of high-speed rail, that can free up slots that are currently on the BNSF route and get those passengers up to 14 trains per day off of the BNSF that could then be used for capacity for freight. Also, the cargo study has looked at other strategies, including incentive-based fees for new industrial development and revising building codes to support electric forklifts and yard vehicles, and local jurisdictions can implement those. So this is the wonderful industrial park, and you can see how it's grown out here within the past 4 or 5 years. So we need to be doing something to make sure that we can minimize the impact of this on all of our communities. So here's my first of my 2 questions. And in the chat, if you type in the chat to everyone can see your answer. If you want to type in, there's a little lever there for Rob, for where it says everyone. If you click on that, you can send it just to robball/kerncog, and I can just look at your results there. And if you don't want to share it with everybody, but I'm encouraging everyone to just go ahead and share it with everyone. We're just going to add up all the numbers, and I'm going to ask you to type in 2 letters out of this list of 5 different priorities. And we just want your quick feedback. This is my only question, is what are your top 2 priorities out of these list of 5? And so if your top 2 are D is your most highest priority and A is your second highest priority, then you could just type in DA, and that's all you have to do. But I also want to point out if there's an E, an other, if you have E as one of your priorities, that means that you have a better idea that you want to share with the group. Just type in what that is, or we'll let you share and verbally tell us all what that is. So, excuse me?
I believe they unmuted themselves.
Aquí
I'm going to read through these.
el grupo de las señoras aquí tenían preguntas antes de contestar eso. Parece que tienen muchas preguntas sobre esta encuesta.
Okay, so we have some questions. Air District.
Soy Ana Valle.
If that's okay with you, Rob, do you mind taking questions before we do a survey? We have a little bit of time on our end going over. We did leave space on the agenda for just a quick view of some actions on other CERT measures. So we can flex a little bit of time, Jessica, for a couple questions.
I'm fine to handle questions now, or I can read through them and then handle questions while they're answering.
Yeah, can we let Rob read through them, and maybe that will help answer, and then take questions if that's okay with the ladies?
No.
Okay.
Nos gustaría hacer la
Take 'em now.
pregunta ahorita.
Okay, just to confirm, everyone should choose, before they start asking questions, everyone should choose their channel so they can hear the questions in the appropriate language. So if you are an English speaker, select English.
Es que nosotros queremos hacer nuestras preguntas, no solo leer y escoger las letras que ustedes pusieron ahí, porque eso es como que ya lo prepararon para que le escojamos una A, una B, una C, una D, pero también nosotros como un comité tenemos decisiones personales y opiniones personales, no solo, porque entonces estaríamos aceptando las letras y poniendo lo que ustedes quieren, y no es así, porque si se fija, están queriendo poner 14 trenes pasando por acá, y no están pensando en todos los troqueros, de dónde van a comer las familiares de todos los troqueros para una sola persona que maneja un tren. Hay que pensar en el futuro de las personas también, no solo pensando la situación económica de tantas familias, de tantos troqueros que se van a quedar sin comida, no van a llegar a la mesa por darle beneficio a los trenes, para darle dinero a compañías más grandes. ¿Y a dónde estamos las familias? Se supone que estamos aquí por las familias, para el pueblo. Entonces no le miro el sentido yo, porque si yo voy para una C, para una D, para una, entonces lo estoy como escogiendo, no están tomando en cuenta nuestra opinión o mi opinión, que se supone, porque entonces cuando yo elijo una letra es porque están decidiendo ya la decisión de ustedes, y con referente a la carretera que piensan que se mire en morado, no se mira bien, porque es cierto que no queremos más tráfico para Shafter, pero si se fija, yo según miro esa construcción, ahí donde la pusieron la línea morada, se benefician otras personas, las compañías grandes, las industrias van a poder mover bien su producto. Pero ¿qué pasa? ¿Cuál es el beneficio de Shafter? No miramos ningún beneficio, al contrario, ellos tendrían como mover su producto en trenes o tenían carreteras buenas, pero siempre va a llegar contaminación al pueblo, porque para donde tiren el tráfico para cualquier otro lado, están beneficiando solamente a las compañías grandes, en ningún momento Shafter, y se supone que primero es Shafter y después las compañías, y me parece que no lo están tomando así, está siendo equivocado. Primero Shafter, digan qué está de bien para Shafter, qué nos están dando a Shafter antes de darle a las compañías, porque yo miro que eso no es lo que se está ofreciendo. ¿Qué estamos recibiendo Shafter? $2,000, como dijeron atrás, o $3,000 para las escuelas o cualquier programa. Eso es como que le den una paleta a un niño. Entonces me parece que estamos beneficiando a compañías grandes. Y fíjense, tomemos muy en cuenta que aunque ustedes quieran que los camiones no pasen por el pueblo, está bien. Pero ¿qué va a pasar con esos miles de troqueros que llevan comida a sus mesas y a sus familias? No estamos pensando en eso. Anabel.
That's an excellent point, and thank you for that input. what I would suggest is possibly one of your answers might be then E, other. And I would say, how are we benefiting our families? And I would say, and not just benefiting the companies, but how are we benefiting our families? And so I'm writing that one right down, right now, that E, you have an other, and that sounds to me like your top priority. So what you might want to do is you'd say, in this answer, when I go through and I read them all, is that your number one is going to be E, and then try to capture what that comment that you just gave to me. And I think it's something like, what's the benefit for the families of Shafter, not just big companies? And I think that's what, and then there's another one here also that might be of interest to you. And I haven't read through these yet, but item C is a fee on industrial developments with breaks for using clean tech trucks and reducing road wear and tear. And this is something that would create an incentive for a company that's coming in to use the latest, cleanest technology and make sure that they're providing the jobs, but they're providing the jobs in a way that's benefiting the community of Shafter and not just tearing up the roads or adding more pollution. And so you might, so in that case, you don't have to put this down, but what you might want to answer is maybe E and then C, and then for E, kind of write out or explain that, if you feel comfortable doing that. So just that's one potential answer. I can read through the rest of them. You might see some others in here that you might like as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Jessica. I just want to take a pause. Rob, thank you for acknowledging. And I'm sorry, I don't know the women yet. I don't know their faces. I'm so sorry. Thank you for acknowledging their response. I see that there is another hand. And Jess, I also saw that you wanted to say something. It's sounding to me right now like they're not comfortable voting at all. And I don't want to put words in their mouth. Or make assumptions.
Yeah, so I can help clarify, and I agree. I hear Annabelle and I hear all of the folks that have raised their hand. And Rob, I appreciate all of the presentation. I believe the COG is just looking. This is his. And I don't want to put words in Rob's mouth, but this is just the streamlined way of him just getting feedback for their process. And so this isn't a vote. We're not making a decision as a committee. This is an overall process that they're doing. And this is one of the main outreach. And so they're just trying to get some feedback and support. So it sounds like, and based on Rob's response just now, all of the comments that you're providing is additional feedback. So it doesn't have to fit in one of these buckets. It's totally open to the feedback outside of these four, which is why he provided letter E. It does.
Sí, pero lo toman como comentario solamente eligiendo una letra, pero entonces se supone que si estamos de acuerdo con cualquiera de las letras, entonces eso me parece a mí como que nos usaran tantito acá viviendo en Shafter, porque realmente qué beneficio recibe Shafter de todo esto. Si va a venir de otro lugar, van a venir a asegurarse que todo esté bien, pero cuando se supone que esto es para un Shafter mejor, pero Shafter desde hace 20 años yo lo miro idéntico.
So, and maybe I'll just provide a little more context and think Amy was going to jump in. This was just meant to be an update on the process and get feedback, but it sounds maybe like there's maybe people need more time to kind of digest what we just discussed and maybe provide a little more context, Rob. And I don't know what your timeline is on this, but maybe that's the space that we leave right now. I also want to mention, just to clarify, these items, and again, Rob, stop me if I'm incorrect here, these are all to improve what's happening in Shafter. And these are all options, because otherwise, to one of your slides, there's already going to be an increase in this truck traffic and impact in the area. And so we need to find ways to reduce that. And these are the options. Is that characterizing it correctly?
Yes, and just some of the options. And that's why we had that other choice, because we wanted to hear other options.
No estamos de acuerdo.
Okay, we're going to take another pause.
Ni tampoco queremos
We're going to
escoger
take
la
another
letra.
pause. I really want everybody to respect each other, and let's please not talk over each other. Rob is trying to explain something,
Okay.
and I understand that you all don't agree, but please let's have this conversation and be able to get to a solution and give everybody their time to speak. So Rob, were you done with your thought? I have this other young woman here. She's had her hand up for a while,
Yes.
and I really want to give her an opportunity to ask her questions, but I want to see if you're done with your thought.
And only that I have one more slide after this one, and that's my contact information. And this process, we're like still in the early stages of it. We're kind of we're not, and so what we're trying to do is get some input from your community, from the community of Shafter, the residents of Shafter that you represent, and so this was just one way that we thought might be an easy way to do that, but maybe a better way is to just provide me an email that's on the next page, or call me up and I can do talk with you more about it, because we really want to know what you guys think, not just here's a list. This is kind of what the study is looking at, and that's all I'm showing you here. So what do you guys think?
Okay, so 1 second, if you can move on to the next slide and just have your information up while we get the comment from the Spanish speaker that's had her hand up. And then after that, Linda, I saw you also had your hand up. Go ahead, in the pink sweater, sorry.
Annabelle.
Sí, buenas tardes. Yo pienso que esto es un conflicto aquí porque es una sola computadora y somos varias personas aquí, somos 5. ¿Qué le parecería si nos mandan esos papeles y nosotros hacemos la encuesta cada quien de nosotros individual? En lo que pensamos y lo que queremos, porque aquí solo con chat no se me hace apropiado, porque tenemos varias opiniones, y ¿por qué no mejor nos mandan este paquete por correo? Y nosotros nos reunimos y decimos lo que nos parece bien, y usted lo mira y lo revisa. Porque si se pone a pensar el mapa que nos puso usted, todo es para la industria Wonderful, porque Wonderful está allá y Wonderful se planea extender más. Wonderful quiere eliminar troques para meter el tren. Si usted mira todo eso, desde donde empieza a donde termina, es la compañía Wonderful. Ya de esto a nosotros no nos pueden embaucar en cualquiera de estas cosas, porque nosotros nos estamos dando cuenta de muchas cosas que está pasando. La industria quiere hacerse más grande, aunque no le importa la comunidad. Entonces, para nosotros podernos respaldar, queremos un papel para llenarlo nosotros y tenerlo por escrito, porque un chat no vale, para nosotros no vale, porque lo pueden eliminar a la hora que quieran o lo pueden borrar. Pero si nosotros hacemos escrito y tomamos copia, podemos defenderlos de eso. Mire, usted está atravesando la 7 Standard, de la Wonderful, de la Tiger y de las compañías para allá. Pero para acá, para nosotros, que es Shafter, para acá, ustedes no están haciendo nada. La Lerdo, ok, nos van a quitar supuestamente los troques, pero todo ese humo se va a venir para nosotros. Tenemos 3 trenes ahorita, troquero, Amtrak y otro, y nos quieren poner otro tren que pase 14 veces y por la noche también, por favor. O sea, no, ya.
Están enriqueciendo la compañía.
ya esos tiempos en que ustedes hablaban bonito y ponían mapas y ponían paisajes, ya no los podemos dejar pasar. Tenemos que pensar en nosotros, porque todo se ha estado haciendo a las industrias, a los del field, los rancheros, el tren y el aceite. Ustedes ya entregaron dinero para ellos. Y para acá, ¿no? Y nosotros 200 máquinas de cortar zacate, por favor, queremos esos papeles, nos lo mande por correo. Y nosotros no es pelear, no es discusión, solamente es una idea, es una idea para nosotros reconocer en realidad la disposición de su buena voluntad. ¿Sí me explico? Yo se lo agradecería mucho, porque ya estamos cansados de que tantos papeles, tantas cosas, tantas juntas, y todo se está yendo para las industrias. Para mí ver, y no sé mis compañeras, estoy de acuerdo, para mí lo único que ustedes están beneficiando es la compañía Wonderful. Haciendo ricos a los ricos. Eso, tiene bonitos planes, correcto, no los niego, pero no nos benefician a nosotros. En realidad, no nos beneficia.
Señora Anabel, ¿sí?
¿Sí?
Oh, buenas noches. Yes, thank you so much for your comments. So this is exactly why you are an essential member of this committee. So the questions that you're bringing and the conversation that you had right now is exactly what Rob's team needs to hear. And so what I'm hearing from you is it would be very important to provide you a copy of this presentation in advance for next time. So now we know, we learned our lesson. We can send you that. So the Air District has committed to sending you a package of this presentation so that you all can spend time getting familiar with the material. Then the other part that I want to make clear, and Rob, please correct me if I'm wrong, Rob's team is here to provide you an overview of the study, a simple overview, and say, this is what's happening right now. Here are the discussions that are happening right now. And so your input is very important. The voting or the letters that you're selecting will not necessarily lead to immediate action. You're not voting on a CSC process, right? You're not voting on a committee directive measure right now. Instead, Rob is seeking your input. So what we can do is, if folks on the committee agree, is send that material to everyone and then add it as an agenda item, and hopefully Rob would be willing to come back to the next meeting, and then folks can have more input on the things that you've learned. Anabel, how does that sound? And others who are there with you.
Tengo otro comentario, ¿puedo
Claro.
comentar? Estoy aquí con doña Anabel. Gustavo Aguirre. ¿Puedo?
Claro.
Sí, mire, Gustavo Aguirre, el mayor. Yo creo que una de las confusiones es, nos presentan estos mapas, ¿verdad? Y tuve chance de revisar un poco el mapa. La cosa es, aquí con las señoras, ¿verdad? Parte de la confusión es, estamos hablando de la AB617 Chapter, ¿verdad? Entonces, la pregunta de ellas es, ¿cómo va a beneficiar este proyecto a la comunidad de Chapter? ¿Cómo va a reducir todos los contaminantes a la comunidad de Chapter? Entendemos, para el condado, para el área, puede ser esa nueva carretera que están proponiendo, puede ser buena. El problema con esa carretera es, como dijo la señora Anabel, ¿dónde va a pasar? Por la zona industrial de Wonderful. Va a conectar tal vez va a ser un buen corredor para los camiones pesados, y la industria. Pero ese mapa no tiene nada que se va a hacer con el tráfico que pasa por los troques, específicamente que pasan por la Lerdo, en el centro de Chapter. No miré yo en ese mapa ninguna sugerencia en cómo se va a mejorar el tráfico que pasa para Chapter. Tal vez no lo leí. Ahora, la 7 estándar es una opción que no hay tanta vivienda ahí, pero la 7 Standard de 4 carriles se acaba poquito después de la zona industrial de Wonderful. Y para allá ya nomás son 2 carriles para pegar al 5. En el 5 no se entra directamente al 5 ahí, tiene que meterse y caminar un rato para arriba o para abajo, para arriba, para poder entrar al 5. Entonces, mirando ese mapa, cómo se relaciona directamente a la 617 de Shafter, cómo va a mejorar a esta comunidad, ¿verdad? Tal vez una de las cosas que yo personalmente entiendo es una buena idea para una carretera para cargo, para parte del condado de Kern, mirando todo el condado de Kern, tiene sentido. Pero si estamos hablando de la AB617 Shafter, ¿cómo beneficia eso a Shafter? Van a traer mucho más tráfico con troques y con el tren, más contaminación a Shafter, y la idea es, Shafter se escogió para reducir la contaminación en esta comunidad. Esos son los cuestionamientos que se hacen ellas como comunidad y nosotros que trabajamos con ellas. O sea, sí miramos el beneficio para otros, pero directamente a la 617, ¿cómo va a ser? ¿Qué van a hacer con el tráfico del Alerdo? ¿Qué van a hacer para mejorar el tráfico de la 7 Standard? Porque ese nomás conecta 99 al 5 allá afuera, pero para conectar al 5 aquí, para aliviar el tráfico en Shafter, no se mira en ese mapa nada. Por eso están diciendo las señoras, ¿cómo vamos a votar por algo donde no hay nada de lo que la comunidad quiere ver para que se beneficie y se reduzca la contaminación en su comunidad? Estos son los cuestionamientos que se hacen. Es lo que estaban diciendo antes de la Junta, es se van a venir a colgar de la AB617 para hacer este proyecto cuando no va a beneficiar a la comunidad. Esos son los cuestionamientos que nos hacemos con esto, que es un proyecto regional que puede ayudar. Eso es otra cosa.
Claro.
Pero que está beneficiando a Shafter, no necesariamente.
Hay muchas muertes con trenes aquí.
Yeah, thank you so much. We completely understand, and that's exactly the input that we need to hear. So now Rob can go back with his team and come with some of those answers to the next meeting. So this is the first phase. So again, no action is happening today. It really is to share those exact same comments and concerns that you all are sharing is exactly what Rob needs to hear. And so if there are others, what we will do now is make sure that everyone gets a copy of the presentation and then come with more of those questions, come prepared to have that dialogue, and we will make this an action item at the next meeting. So are there more? I see Linda has her hand raised, and I do see a comment from Angelica, and Angelica is sharing that there has been improvement in regards to the mailing of presentations ahead of time, so the weekend before the meeting compared to the day previously, but some more time to have read this in advance would have been helpful. Completely see that, and so now we can correct that and ensure that you have more, until next month to be able to read that, the presentation. And I see Linda, where did you go?
Hi, Amy. You answered my question. I was just wondering if we could get a copy of it. I was curious about the map. And then I also know that there was incentive money in here, or at least I thought there was, for a CNG station. I have seen CNG trucks, kind of throughout Shafter. I think that's a better alternative to the diesel. So, if we can help to push where there's a CNG station, because I think now they have to go to Buttonwillow, and maybe that would help with reducing some of the air pollutants. Just a thought. So just wanted to throw that out there, since we do need goods to come in for food and whatnot. So I just thought we could help the ones that are trying to be more environmentally friendly, easier place to possibly fill. That was just a quick comment. Thanks.
So Rob, on your end, anything else to add that you'd like to leave with some clarifying comments before folks, receive a package of your presentation? I think it would be nice to provide some guidance and any other things that folks should be considering as they're questioning your proposal in the study.
Absolutely. And really appreciate the input and the feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Una pregunta rápida. La señora están preguntando en el mapa que se enseñó donde está la ruta la ruta morada. Hay una, creo que es la 7 Standard, la que está en azul. Esa. Lo que está en 7 Standard en azul. Están preguntando qué son esas siglas porque acá tiene qué significa cada color, pero no el azul. Y estaban preguntando si pudieran explicarnos qué es.
Certainly. This map is the result of some transportation modeling of where trucks might go in the future if we add as many trucks as we're going to have from these areas that are in pink, the industrial areas. A lot of the areas have been designated up around the airport, for example. You know, they built the new Amazon out there. So there's going to be a lot of potential truck traffic. And so these blue lines were just modeled routes, and they're not exact to where they were located. They're just modeled routes of where we could possibly route some of those trucks to reduce the impact in downtown Shafter. So those trucks wouldn't have to go through down Laredo Highway and through the middle, or up 43 through the middle of Shafter. And so that's all these are. And so what we were trying to do, this is still preliminary, and there is a phase 1 process that we have gone through, but we're in phase 2 right now, and it's preliminary. And we wanted your feedback on what we've looked at in terms of the SERP strategy for heavy duty, SERP strategy number 9. And we were just doing this in response to your committee's input, the AB617 plan that you guys all voted in. You guys said somebody to do this. Now, nobody was assigned to this HD9. It wasn't the Air District's area, and we happened to be doing something. And so we wanted to leverage the work that we were doing to benefit Shafter and the AB617 process. So we were bringing this to you and letting you know, hey, there's this activity that's going on, and it kind of lines up with your study's HD9. And one of the things HD9 in the SERP plan said was heavy duty truck rerouting. And so that's one of the things that we're here looking for. We want your feedback on this. And so we still have some more work to do on this, but we want your feedback now so we can refine it and make it something that benefits the community better. And so I'm hearing that. And for next month's presentation, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add in here a slide or two that lists the benefits to the community of Shafter that we see, because clearly this slideshow didn't spend very much time talking about those, and try to make it clearer what benefits there might be. And you guys may again see other benefits or things that are not beneficial. And we want your feedback and telling us, hey, that's only benefiting the industry, it's not benefiting Shafter. And if we can get some feedback to refine this from you, and maybe that purple line needs to move or something like that, then we'd be happy to take that in.
Okay.
Yeah, otro comentario aquí del grupo.
Okay, let's take a pause, please. Linda had her hand up, and then we'll get to you. Please, thank you. Go ahead, Linda.
I just had a question on this purple. So are you trying to divert away from RBG school? Is that what's happening here where you pull up Superior?
RBG, is that Rio Bravo?
Yeah, Rio Bravo Greeley.
Yeah, that's
okay. So you're rerouting that, and then you're going to come up here through Cherry. I'm just wondering, just because I've seen the damage of some heavy trucks because of the high-speed rail up in the Wasco area, what they've done to the road. Is that something that you work with the county on to make sure that those trucks can go on those roads and they'll be maintained properly? Because I've had to drive very slow, and the potholes are really bad from the heavy duty trucks that go through there. And I just want to make sure that the roads would be maintained and they are surfaced properly. And I just make sure that the county has enough funding to make sure that those roads could hold up. That was my only concern, just because of what I've seen with the high-speed rail and all the trucks coming in there. It's really destroyed a lot of the smaller roads.
That's the kind of comments and feedback that we're looking for. Is, so if we're going to have more trucks, we need to be able to make sure that those trucks don't tear up the roads. The roads need to be built stronger, and there needs to be enough money to keep those roads maintained. Sounds to me like the comment that you made. And so we're looking for that type of input. That if that's what you guys keep those roads. We don't just want a bunch of trucks in there that are going to tear up the roads. That's an excellent piece of feedback that we want from the public. We want to know from the community of Shafter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for answering that question. It sounds like the presentation will come back next month. And I wanted to allow Gustavo Sr. to make his last comments, and then is that okay, Jessica? I see.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we do that, and then I just want to commit everything that Rob is saying, we will make happen on our end. So we'll work with Rob to make sure we get materials out to everyone with the updated sort of slides that he's asking for. So I want just everyone to know that that's the commitment. And then, yeah, after Gus Sr. discusses, maybe we can wrap up and move on. If people have maybe more questions, they can put them in the chat or email myself or Rob.
Thank you, Jessica. Go ahead, Gustavo.
Sí, gracias. Lo que las señoras están diciendo aquí en Chapter es de que si la línea morada donde se está proponiendo la nueva carretera se cambiara a lo que es la 7 estándar, sería más aceptable, porque eso sí traía un beneficio a Shafter, porque los troques, en vez de irse por Lerdo en el corazón de la comunidad, escogerían, si la 7 estándar estuviera a 4 carriles hasta el 5, escogerían 7 estándar en vez de Lerdo, y así se aliviaría el tráfico en el corazón de la comunidad. Es el comentario de ellas, pero también, ya que está comentando el señor que va a regresar, con cuáles son los beneficios con la ruta morada. Si puede traer también información, cuáles son los beneficios si fuera la 7 estándar, cómo beneficia a la comunidad, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál de los dos proyectos trae más beneficios a la comunidad? Eso yo creo que sería buena información que tuviera aquí todos los participantes para hacer una mejor decisión. Gracias.
Thank you for your
Excellent.
comment.
We'd be happy to do that. Provide more information on a 7 standard route versus this north-south route. We'd be happy to provide that information.
Thank you, Rob. All right, thank you everybody for all of your input. We greatly appreciate it. We are now going to move on to the next agenda item, which is SERP measure prioritization results update. And that is going to be myself and the Air District. Before I start, I wanted to see if the Air District wanted to jump in and give any information before I started.
Absolutely. And then as we're going through, we'll also, if Michelle has anything to add, I know in our coordination, we talked mostly about the agenda, but Michelle, please, as co-host, your input is certainly valuable. I wanted to remind folks, we had a survey that we sent out a while ago. Our intention was to share it at the last meeting, and we did, but a lot of feedback was around, okay, well, the survey that you're showing us, was this comprehensive? How many people took it? Did we make sure we did our due diligence and making sure that the folks that hadn't taken the survey were reached out to and took it? And so the sort of the steps that we took in order to make that happen were that we heard all of those comments. We opened the survey back up, as you saw in Zong's action items tracker You all saw that we opened the survey up and heard directly, if you were at our agenda setting meeting, and even prior to that, we worked directly with Gustavo Aguirre Jr., who got a contact list and information about all of the folks and how many times we tried to contact them. And he also did an outreach effort as well over the past couple of weeks. We extended the survey even more so, and we so appreciate all of his efforts as well. So the results that Jessica is going to share, the Hardering Company, it looks a little different visually than it did before, so we hope that that helps a little bit, but they also outline here, and I'll just read it out loud too, but Jessica, feel free to reiterate when you review, is that we had a total, we still only had 12 people take the survey. 8 of them were residents in the community. 2 of them were EJ advocates, and 2 of them were our members that are part of the city or the county. So with that, it was still majority residents. And I just want to highlight that this survey, as a reminder, was just to understand general priority of how often we will come to meetings like this and talk about the measures. It is not an indication that we will do something and not do something else. So ranked higher just means we're going to update more often, or we're going to maybe if there's a project plan due to CARB, push that forward for first. That does not mean anything that's ranked last isn't happening. Everything in the SERP is still our target. So I just wanted to remind folks of that. If it's ranked lower, it does not mean it is less important to you all. We took it as we're going to bring updates less frequently, or maybe just keep updates in the tracker unless someone requests. So that was generally the guidance and what we wanted to hear from you all. So with that, I will pass it back to Jess to go over.
I am going to share my screen briefly. Okay. All right, so we are just going to briefly review this. I know during the last meeting, some of the CSC members requested that we come back and not review it in so much detail, but I did want to just reiterate what Jessica just said about the 12 CSC members that completed it. We didn't get anybody else after we opened the survey. So those were the 8 residents, the 2 EJ advocates, the 2 government officials. And just as a reminder, the survey was designed to help the Air District better understand everybody's interest in which SERP measures to discuss, work with the CSC meetings on outreach strategies for those particular ones, and then reevaluating support and outreach plans for measures that don't have enough participation or oversubscribed. And so those were the main goals of this. And I believe last time there were questions about how we came to this ranking. And so CSC members were asked to order the SERP categories in Exhibit 1, but also the SERP measures in Exhibits 2 to 8. And so those rank orders were determined by averaging the scores for each individual question. And for number 1, those were the ones that were a higher priority. And so that's how we came up with these. And we try to make it visually like obvious. So the top 3 are in dark blue here. And then the lighter ones, I mean, they're just not in the top 3. So we did try to make this a little bit easier for people to understand and a little bit easier to see and make it more obvious. And then, okay, and that's it for this. Are there any questions?
I was wondering if we could just, I know folks asked that maybe we don't go in detail, but maybe I can just kind of touch on if we go to each one, Jessica, and you zoom in on number 2. Awesome. And then I'll just kind of highlight Again, these haven't changed from the last meeting, but I'm just going to highlight once again, just so folks that are interested, Exhibit 1, if you look, this is everything we've heard from all of you. This is everyone that's sitting with Miss Annabelle and Gus Senior are all saying right now. They're saying, what are the incentives for the community members? And so that ranked the highest here. That's something we expected, but it's good to see. That's sort of what we call ground truthing. You're understanding, okay, what we understand from the committee is still the most important thing, and that is measures to help improve the air that directly help the residents. And then you can kind of see down from there, similarly, all of the different CERT measure categories, but that was number 1. If you go down to ag measures, we've certainly heard, and something that we haven't talked about in a while, but we can, now that we're seeing it ranked high, we can come back to this group and talk about agricultural burning, especially this time of year. It's something that we hear a little bit more about, and we have incentives for alternatives. So it looks like the committee is very interested in making sure that there are alternatives to agricultural burning, meaning they don't burn, they chip the wood instead. So it's good to see that up there. We haven't talked about that, and we'll talk with all of you at the agenda setting meeting about bringing that to an upcoming agenda to talk about kind of the progress we've made there. If you scroll down, Jess, thank you. Number 3 over here to the left, and I appreciate Amy and kind of the efforts we're doing to coordinate this, replace wood burning devices. So good news is that we brought to you a couple meetings ago that great flyer. This is just a good reminder that we need to get these incentives for the residents spent. And you can see number 2, we'll update about in just a second here, urban greening. We have a great update for you there, and we've talked with some of our partners about that. Or number 2 rather here. And then number 3, air filtration in community schools is something that we'll also talk about here in a moment. So if you go over to the right, heavy duty truck replacement, yard trucks, both of those are the 2 things that we'll discuss today. So we're happy to see that the top couple are going to be items today, but we will continue to bring this list to our agenda setting meetings to help kind of pick agenda topics. Maybe you're looking at this and saying, you know what, it has been a minute. I haven't heard about transit buses. Can that be an update topic? That clearly was high priority. It made it to number 3 on the community's list. We'll kind of keep scrolling down. I won't go to all of them. Maybe I'll just scroll to the very last one on here. I think it's the next.
Can I make one comment? Just a little, if you can go back up, Jessica Silva. Just wanted to make a comment here for folks as you read this. So you might notice the formatting here. So for 2, 3, and 4 under heavy duty incentives, these were all ranked at the top 2. So folks all thought that these were equally important. So that's why they're all clumped under the second one. So as Jessica said, this is obviously something that everyone wants to talk about, and you'll see that come to the conversation quite often.
Thank you, Amy. And then I was just going to scroll down to kind of save us some time, but again, we can send another paper copy version of this out to folks when we send out the next one, so that folks that need a paper copy can have one. Bike lanes, we're going to talk about here in a moment, and road paving. So it's just reflective of all of our agenda topics coming up soon are ones that are on this list, which is great. So if we can move down to the last page. Some of the things that we've talked about recently, a lot about recently, is outreach. So a lot of that, you can see kind of the different types of outreach that folks are interested in. But some of the things that we haven't talked a ton about recently, but we've made some progress on. If you go down to Exhibit 7, which is passenger vehicles, tune in, tune up, which is that car repair, drive clean, which is paying for replacing cars, and EV charging infrastructure are all topics we would love to bring up and discuss more with you. We have some progress that we have made and some next steps we want to take for some of these that we think could be really great. So we're happy to see those higher up. Same thing, actually, I know it's number 4 here, but car share programs, similarly, we have some next steps and actions we want to take. So that's just our preview of kind of what the next steps are. And I just so appreciate all of the work. Again, Gustavo Jr. helped kind of try to get as many people as we could, and then to Harder and Company for putting this together. We will send it out to everyone. And again, we will visit this every agenda setting meeting to kind of ground ourselves and make sure we're actually using this for the next steps, and that we're not just doing the survey and then never looking at it again. Thanks, Jess. Oops, you're muted.
Of course. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the SERP measure updates, and that is the air districts.
Okay, so it's going to be kind of a tag team. So we're basically going to highlight the different categories of those CERT measures that are listed on your agenda. And then we have a couple folks from the air district that can help provide some context. And then when we get to the item that is kind of our partnership with, in this case, Kern County Public Works, we will have our partners over there provide a little update. So thanks to all, especially to Michelle and to Linda and those that were a part of our agenda setting meeting that helped us craft kind of what this list looked like. And so with that, I'm going to share my screen. So what you're seeing here is a list. Just sort of a reminder, there are different types of CERT measures. Some of them were pre-approved in CARB's guidelines. So you know how we always talk about project plans. There are a ton of them that don't need project plans. And so that's what you're seeing on this list here. These are all of the ones, even including the one there was mentioned earlier, alternative fueling stations. That is one, and we can definitely come to another meeting with an update on that, since that was a topic that was discussed earlier. So you can see we've made significant progress on some of these. Some of them we are working on. It's a little bit more difficult to find project partners depending on the project. And the one on here that's highlighted, and something that we are working on our end to do, and I know that we've talked a lot about it, is that on our end, we have talked about the COVID funding that's come to schools, and some of them are doing air filtration and they're changing their HVAC systems, meaning all of the funding that we would provide actually isn't even close to actually the funding that they received. And so what we need to do as a next step, and kind of checking in with the team for this particular update, is that we want to touch base with the schools and bring to you an update of actually what has happened. Maybe some of you know what's happened. Maybe you're in connection or you work for the schools or your kids go to the schools. We have a commitment to bring to you kind of an audit, a little bit of like, okay, what does that look like? What have they done? So that we can either definitively say, we don't need this funding and we can move it to something else, or we can say, actually, based on what we're hearing, maybe there's something different we can do for schools. So what I will say is that one of the comments that's come up from you all is, okay, what about indoor air filtration for like homes and residents at this rate? So we talked with the team, and something that we can update you on, and maybe I'll just unshare while I'm talking, but I'm talking specifically about this measure. I'll just kind of leave this, is that we are working on an indoor air filtration measure because it was already in the Stockton SERP, which is a SERP that was adopted after yours. As you all know, it's not in your SERP, and we have heard from all of you that it is of interest, certainly, to bring a measure like that to the SERP. So what we're committed to doing is, it's a process we have to go through to even develop what that measure looks like up in Stockton. And to Linda's point, to other places outside of schools. So maybe thinking about youth centers and daycares, things outside of the SERP. We are exploring that, and it's kind of this, we're kind of letting Stockton be like, build up that groundwork. And what our commitment is, and this isn't just for you all, but Fresno is asking the same thing, is once we sort of see what that program can look like, and we kind of get support, we have to go to our board for that program. In that space, we can see what support is, not only from your committee, but from Fresno's committee, to maybe shift funding, whether it's from the school air filtration or from other measures as we review them, to an item like that. So there's two actions for us. It's one is to do an audit of what the schools are looking like, and that is an action we'll have Harder and Company write down for this meeting. And the second is to follow the process that we're doing in Stockton, because it's already in their SERP. And then we'd have to come back to our board, actually, since it's not in your SERP, and actually add it to the SERP and then move funding. So it's a little bit, there's some actions that need to be taken, but we heard it loud and clear, and we're definitely looking to continue to hear that support from you all, so we can kind of point to that when we go back to our board. if that is the next step. Are there any questions about school filtration or in-home / kind of extending it past the schools? I saw Linda's physical hand first, and then I'll go to Gus. Or no, he's saying go to Gus. Okay, all right, we'll go to Gus.
I also saw Linda's hand go up first.
She waved you off. I said, nope, you first.
But okay, yeah. So just to get it right, the question is to integrate to our SERPs a measure that is from Stockton SERP to allow like more SERP money to go to air filtration system.
It would basically be moving, so it wouldn't be adding CERT money, but we're finding an example is the school filtration, that it's possible that that money won't be spent if the schools are already, they're already upgrading HVAC. They already received way more money than we're saying here to do some of this work. And so it would be more like moving CERT money to do that type of work.
Okay, and moving it to like amplify it and make it go faster.
Yeah, hopefully faster for sure, right?
Okay.
And yeah, and I'm seeing, oh, go ahead, Linda.
Oh, I was just wondering if I could help with getting that information from the schools. Is there some kind of email, or who's the contact? Would it be Air Board or Harder and Company, to just so we could maybe get a yes or no from the schools if they need it by next meeting, so we could move forward, because I know it takes some time.
Yeah, Linda, yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be our outreach team or our incentives team, but I will follow. That'll be our other action item. Is we'll have either way, we'll have Zong follow up with you about that connection and about that effort to do it, because we also, like I said, we're going to do the same thing in all of our programs, because this is actually a CERT measure everywhere. We've heard a lot about CARES Act funding, and now they've had it for a while, right? So we want to kind of get an update of what they're doing with it. Thanks, Linda. And then I saw an item in the chat that is certainly something that could be a part of it. So as we, sorry, I'll read it out loud. Considering pinpointing in-home air filtration. So for people that maybe have like the most health issues or sensitive populations. So I wanted to acknowledge that that could be part of it. We will just commit to, as we move forward in Stockton, the reason, I'll just kind of clarify, the reason we're waiting for Stockton is it's much easier in some cases, and we're trying to use 617 to learn from each other, to build a program once we've kind of like built that program with the other communities. And we're actually doing the same thing in those communities. They're benefiting from the programs that you have already launched. So that's the plan there, and we will bring an update to you all about that particular measure. It is an added measure, but we obviously still have all these other CERT measures we want to get to. So I will move on. Oh, I do see another question from Annabelle.
Annabelle.
Sí, un comentario.
Go ahead.
¿Por qué en vez de dar filtros para los aires, por qué no dar a promover purificadores para las casas? Los purificadores purifican el aire, es muy saludable para las personas, porque el filtro es un filtro, es algo que se tiene que estar lavando, son bien pesados para los aires acondicionados y a la vez también muy saludables, pero yo diría que ¿por qué no purificadores? Hay tanto niño con asma, ayudaría a uno, yo para mí, nosotros pensaría que aquí que el pueblo que es tan malo con el aire, a mi ver, y a nosotros sería perfecto. Y veo que la señora dice sí, ella también está de acuerdo.
Yes, I think we all, and we do this often. When I say in-home air filtration, you are exactly right. That is actually what we're talking about with the Stockton community, is those standalone air purifiers. So maybe it's more like, maybe that is something we need to keep our track of, is the way we phrase that, is we're talking about that. We agree. We don't want folks maybe don't have the right systems. This was, you plug it in, it purifies it, it's a unit. So that's a great comment. We appreciate that. Awesome. I'm going to share my screen and keep going. So there's a lot kind of going on this, but I will walk you a little bit through it. We've gone through this slide before, but I'm just going to remind you, especially those that haven't been. We also have project plans. So the ones that I showed on the slide before, we didn't have a project plan for. These we have to get approved by CARB, even though they're in the SERP. And so all of these, this is a big lift, that all of these were actually project plans that we submitted to CARB. CARB review did a lot of work on as well to approve and make sure we could spend the funds. So that's this whole list of measures. Everything that has this black outline are those community measures that you ranked as like your #1 priority. So those are measures that the residents directly get the funding for. So we've made really good progress on residential lawn and garden. This is magic, by the way, this like red that's happening. I'm not sure how this is happening. That's great. Thank you, Amy. On residential lawn and garden, we've made, we just released the residential wood burning. So we've made some progress there, but we have a lot more funding to go. And this is really where that the mini grants that Jamie talked about, or Heather talked about, come into play, where we get lots of people to participate in this if we get more folks involved in recruiting people to participate. The last thing that's on here that's in yellow, because we're talking about it right now, is urban greening. So I will mention that we had Linda, she's not shy about it, is very interested and very involved, and she's just such a great committee member to speak about urban greening. We have shared and we plan to open what's called a request for proposal for that very shortly here. So we're working with folks that have an interest in that. We've talked a little bit with Linda, but we're open to talking with others before we do that if they want any input. Our goal is to get this done very quickly. It's a draft, it's ready to go. We could be posting it very soon. We do already have approval from CARB and from our district board to do it. So Linda, I'll definitely point to you if you have other questions.
I'm sorry, I just had a question. Thank you so much on the urban greening, very excited. On that chart you had up, it said that the commercial lawnmower program, there was 0.
Yes.
Is it ready to go? For commercial folks?
Yeah.
Is there any way to talk to the city? Do they keep track of the commercial gardeners we have, or are there stipulations of like how much work they do in Shafter? Can we help them get that pushed? I don't, how does a gardener apply for that?
That's a great point. And I don't know if Todd, you have
Yeah. Hi, Linda. This is Todd DeYoung, the Director of Grants and Incentives Program. Great question. We find it a little bit more difficult on the commercial side to reach the right folks. School districts, the city, commercial landscape companies are all the folks that we want to outreach to. We are actually in the process of putting together some pretty significant outreach this spring, a little bit later this spring, to try and bring in some applications. I don't know that the city or anybody necessarily keeps track of the number of those folks that are operating within the city. But in terms of how much they have to operate within Shafter, those are all things that we can look at. We want to make sure that a majority of the benefit is within Shafter. But if there are commercial landscape companies that do operate, some amount of time outside Shafter, but a majority is within, we would definitely consider that.
So they do keep track of the gardeners, because I think they've had meetings with them over different things. So I'll try and figure out who would have those contacts, but code enforcement could be a resource. And I'll try and get you that.
Yeah, that would be great. Generally, they're not part of any organized association or anything like that, so they are a little bit harder to reach. But if there is,
have to pull a business permit, I don't know. Let me find that out for you.
Okay, no, that would be great. You can reach out to me directly on that. I'd love to get whatever you have.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Todd. I am going to move on to the next set here. And just so you all know, these are all just taken directly from the tracker we send out to all of you every month. So it's just a slide version of that. There's actually more details in the tracker. So this isn't any new information that you don't already have in the packet that we send out. This little bit is a little bit of a new information, and this says expected approval to fund in April. This is, expected, but we have all three of these measures are sort of we want to move them from this slide to the slide before where, it's in this kind of list of approved measures. And there's a couple of things that we expect to be able to approve these. One is for heavy duty trucks and these yard trucks and TRUs. They actually fall under or can fall under a type of guideline that CARB is updating, and we expect our board to approve in April. And so we expect by the end of April, we should be able to, and I know it's been a long time coming and we appreciate the support we've had and kind of the questions we had, but we should be able to open up and fund the heavy duty truck projects. So that's going to the near zero or zero emission electric, or the electric TRU units, or those yard truck projects. So all of those are something that we think by the end of April that should happen. We'll know pretty shortly actually too if that's an item that we will be taking to our board, so we can update you all even before our next meeting as to that exact timeline. And the reason that we've had to kind of wait so long is because, as you know, we have some of those guidelines that we go through that we submit to CARB. In this case, the types and the scope of the types of trucks that we could fund was really narrow. And the updates that CARB is going through right now is going to broaden that and allow us to make sure we take off as many dirty trucks off the road and replace as many of them as possible. So that is part of that commitment, part of that reason that it took a little bit of time, but we're really looking forward to that being available by that time, by the end of April. And the reason I say end of April, it will be after our board meeting that could be officially kind of good to go. And then finally I think that's the ones, those are the two that I had on that slide. I see Annabelle's question though. Oh, maybe the hand went down. I do see oh wait, go ahead, Annabelle, or Gus.
No, Gustavo,
Gustavo.
Un par de preguntas. Una es, no sé si en la lista ya aprobada es invertir en las banquetas y las líneas para bicicleta, trabajando con las comunidades, con la comunidad de la colonia mexicana, y porque están buscando mejorar su comunidad. Tuvimos una reunión con el Departamento de Obras Públicas del Condado y se nos dijo ahí con ellos, con la agencia del condado, que ellos ya han metido 2 veces una aplicación para banquetas en la colonia mexicana y que no ha sido aprobado. Si nos pueden explicar las razones por las cuales, porque también aquí lo que las señoras están diciendo es parte de la idea de ellas, ¿verdad? Que sea un chapter más, se pueda caminar más, ¿verdad? Para que haya más movilidad y eso incluye las líneas de bicicleta, pero también vecindarios donde las banquetas son necesarias. Si pudieran explicar un poquito de si tienen la información, por qué no se aprobó la de la colonia mexicana y qué se necesita para que la comunidad promueva ese tipo de...
Yes. Gustavo, it's like you read our minds. So I'll share on my screen really briefly that last slide, and I'll introduce a high level, and then I'm actually going to pass it to the county to explain it a little bit more. That is exactly right. And to your point, when we looked at those prioritizations, those were like 1 and 2, right, in that category. So we know it's high priority. We have heard that. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly to highlight. We are going to talk about road paving and sidewalks and bike lanes. So the 2 things that Gustavo Sr. just mentioned, but I'm also just listing, these are all programs we are still going to continue working on drafting the project plans. And that doesn't mean that they're low priority. They were just at the time ranked lower, but we will shift these around now that we have a final ranking and final prioritization, and bring to you as many updates as possible that we can, of course, fit in one meeting. So I'll just high level. The application that Alexa is going to talk about for that project was not to the district. It was to a different type of funding. And so we'll have Alexa talk about that funding, and then we can all talk about what the district and the CSC can do moving forward to get that project funded. So Alexa, if you don't mind, or providing a little bit of context about the La Colonia project.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So we applied for the CMAQ funding in, I believe it was October or November of last year, and we were notified that it was not funded. Unfortunately, it did not score high enough in comparison to other projects. And so we've looked into other grant funding sources, and we haven't been able to find one that would fund this project. But we have spoken with the Air District, and it sounds like a potential avenue we could take would be to maybe restructure the road paving grant for sidewalks to allow the Air District to potentially fund the project. I believe it would require the community steering committee's support. Our total project cost, the reason why it's so hard to fund is the total project cost for Mexican Colony was $1.5 million, all inclusive. So it's difficult to find a grant that is cost effective that would fund this amount of work. So that's where we're at right now. We're just beginning conversations with the Air District, and we hope to have your support to move forward.
So, and maybe I can kind of summarize that for even for Harder and Company, and we can kind of see if there's no kind of what support there is, or if there are no objections. But essentially, this is a little different. So the SERP itself asks that we leverage, right, or look to match, meaning we at the district level, at the CSC level in the SERP, put some money toward the project, and then we make sure that the group that's doing the project also puts some money toward the project. In this case, knowing that it's a high priority project and knowing that the county has tried a variety of different avenues of getting it funded, we're looking to see, you know, is the CSC comfortable recommending to the district that we just try to fund the whole project and get it going? And so that's kind of our ask of you right now. If generally kind of what are our reactions to prioritizing this, knowing that the county has tried kind of all these different avenues, and seeing, then we, you know, on my end, I would say, okay, Todd and I will talk to the team and see what that looks like. From our board would still have to approve it. The air board, you know, CARB would still have to approve it, but we wanted to see what the CSC thought of that amendment to the SERP. It's very similar, I'll just highlight this for everyone, to what we did for urban greening, right? Where we took away the match funding and made it easier for the project to go. And I see Michelle and then the, Annabelle and the ladies with Annabelle and Gustavo.
Well, I think that the Colin, any way we can make that happen would be terrific. If that could be on our top of our agenda next month, to say this is what we're going to do and this is how it's going to happen, that should happen first. It's a big necessity. They should be able to walk not in a gutter or over the dirt. I think it's a big bonus for everybody.
Thanks, Michelle. Annabelle?
Sí, mira, qué diferencia hay, ¿verdad? Cuánta diferencia. Qué bueno que es para la comunidad. Eso sí es para la comunidad. Y la AB617 tiene el dinero para eso. Y estamos de acuerdo con usted, Gede. Gracias, gracias, porque es una de las cosas que también nosotros necesitamos.
Parece que hay apoyo unánime aquí para invertir más en las banquetas y la infraestructura interna de sus comunidades.
Gracias.
Thank you. And Gustavo Jr.
Yeah, and what was the total allocation that was potential?
So we have, that's a great point. We have 2.775 allocated, and the Alexa just mentioned it's a $1.5 million project. So we would still have funding in that measure to do more than just that project.
Wow, okay. And so, yeah, I think definitely sounds like we would approve it. I mean, again, this AB617, the nexus of this is again to reduce emissions, and it's been proven study after study that paving, sidewalks, and roads will literally reduce emissions. So yeah, for sure. I'm down for that.
Thanks, Gustavo. And Linda.
I was just wondering if it could also be applied to some of that funding on 43 with the Caltrans survey they were doing. Can we help move that along too? Just because I see so many people trying to walk to town and kids.
That can definitely, that's something we'll coordinate. That would be a separate coordination. But yeah, so if, just kind of speaking hypothetically a little bit here, but if we still have, the 1.2 million left after this project, that can be applied if it's still, something the committee supports to other infrastructure projects in the Shafter area.
Okay, so just another question then, since I know we're getting close to time of maybe some of the SERP items that people haven't spent money on. When can the committee take that funding and maybe move it more towards sidewalks so we can afford that? If there's, I don't know where we are with the buses. That came up and I saw that there wasn't a whole lot used with that. Can we move some of that funding over?
That's a great point. And I think that's an item, I know it sounds like we have a lot for next agenda, but I'm wondering, and we're doing something similar in Fresno, so maybe it's a good time to do it in Shafter. I'm wondering if we have that discussion a little bit higher level, Linda. It will allow us here to work internally on some kind of steps that we could take. But I do agree, we're almost halfway through, right? We've been with this committee for a long time. And so having that discussion with you all, so we'll bring something like this where we show you where we're at with each measure, but also maybe, like you said, maybe it's a decision point or something we can have, kind of like we're doing right now, right? We're making a decision together on one item, but maybe we kind of do it more methodically. All right, Annabelle?
Before we move on, I just want to do a quick time check. We are at 6:47. I know we're really close to ending this, but I still wanted to give all of the standing updates enough time and then allow 5 minutes for public. So go ahead, Annabelle.
Sí, nada más el comentario de ellas era el punto que acaban de hacer ahorita, de que si se pudiera designar más fondos para proyectos de banquetas y la infraestructura de la comunidad. ¿Están de acuerdo con el comentario anterior que se hizo? Porque están diciendo que 2.77 no es suficiente, que quisieran ver más inversión en esa. Y si hay otros fondos que pueden mover este proyecto, sería excelente, es lo que están, el comentario aquí del grupo.
Yes, I appreciate all of that. It sounds like those are kind of a little bit down the road, but it sounds generally like we got the support for this one particular project. And then, yes, I agree, we can continue to have the conversation. We will note that kind of in our actions that we have this support. And then our commitment is to work, like I said, I'm looking virtually at Todd, and Jamie will work with our team to kind of move this forward and bring you all updates. And of course, like I said, we'll still need CARB support and our board support, but this is definitely an important first step. So I appreciate it. And Jessica, that is all I had. So we can move on to standing.
Thank you so much. Okay, so again, just we're going to go to Min at DPR first for standing updates.
Hey, good evening, everybody. We have no updates today, so I'm glad to take any questions or concerns, but right now everything is still moving forward. Got a lot of stuff happening in the background, just nothing to provide right now. So
go ahead, Gus.
Yeah, how's it going? Just quickly, would it be possible? So when we first started talking about pesticides in the syrup, I know pesticide notification was one of the biggest ones, but then there was like half a dozen pesticide measures that came along with part of the conversation. And I know DPR and other agricultural folks were looking into it and probably even initiating some of those alternative ag measures, like, moist density once injecting to loan and stuff like that. At some point, can we get an update on what's happening with those measures? If any of them have been implemented, and if so, kind of what the status is on those? I'd appreciate that.
Sure, I can give you actually a brief update on that. I think a lot of what you're referring to, Gus, kind of got wrapped up into our 1,3D mitigation pilot project, and that was kind of the initial work to go into rulemaking. So to date, we finished that last year, and my team's actually gathering all the data. I think we only have one field left that we're waiting for data from the lab, and essentially it's showing us very promising readings. I think I've discussed this in the past here, showing that some of these new methods of application for 1,3D specifically, we're showing like TARP-like emissions reductions. And what all that is once we get done with that, my team's going to be filing a report, a data report, which would be feeding into rulemaking. So right now, the rulemaking is at an initial phase. So until I get all the science done and all that squared away with the data, that'll feed in, and then I can give you more updates once we get that wrapped up. I'm actually anticipating that we're getting all of our data in probably by the end of this month, maybe mid next month. So we'll have to go through that, do some QA/QC checks, and then I might be able to give you some more preliminary results like I did before on the last. I think I gave you guys 3 sites that specifically 2 that were done in Shafter, but I can give you potentially more if I can get all that data squared away.
Okay, and that was my second question. To remind myself, the part of the pilot for the 1,3D physically happened in Shafter, right?
Yeah, actually 3 out of the 5 that we were able to conduct actually did happen down there. Yeah, and we actually tested 2 newish methods that we're hoping will be a good solution for everybody.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions for Min? Okay, next we have Scott with CARB.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Scott Wall with the California Air Resources Board. I just wanted to briefly share with you an opportunity to learn a little bit more and engage with the California Air Resources Board on methane, dairies, and livestock, since these are all things of concern and relevant to the Shafter area. I posted a link and the date and time to that workshop, but basically it's a public workshop. California law requires that methane emissions at California dairy and livestock operations to be reduced 40% below 2013 levels by 2030, so another 8 years. So we're hosting this workshop basically to discuss the issues that dairy and livestock industries face in achieving the legal requirements. And so this workshop, it's a full day, 9 to 5, as you can see, will include topic-specific panels with presentations from a variety of experts. And really the objective of the workshop is an enhanced understanding of California mandates for reductions in methane emissions, trends in the dairy and livestock industry, California programs that reduce dairy methane, environmental regulation affecting dairy operations, including concerns raised about potential impacts associated with environmental policies and programs, and to really just hear a variety of perspectives. So just wanted to share that briefly with you. That's an opportunity, again, for you to engage and learn more about these different upcoming regulations as far as reduction of methane. Len, did I see you raising a hand? And if it's technical, I'm not going to be able to help you.
So I just, after you were done, I don't know if the chat's up. I can't find my hand anymore. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I was just wondering, as an example, I think that I heard there were some dairies up in maybe the Pixley area that all worked together and they piped in, I think it was 7 dairies, and it's going into like Pixley gas now for RNG. And I was just wondering if places like that are, being shown as a good example of how to reduce and then use renewable energy for CNG trucks.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that all of those things are going to be discussed at that workshop. The variety of measures of ways that dairies are actually reducing the methane emissions into the atmosphere. And yeah, one of those is certainly kind of capturing the gases and turning it into clean fuel that then can be used for transportation and for equipment actually on site if the equipment is equipped, correctly to take that kind of gas. But yeah, all of that stuff, it's a full day. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of information, but certainly great opportunity to engage in those discussions and provide input, particularly with Shafter being really, surrounded by dairies and having those types of emissions there. So thanks for the question, Linda.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other raised hands. So next we have community air monitoring, and that's Chai.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. As you all know, we've been working on getting the monitoring at Mexican Colony, and that's still a challenge. Thank you to all of you who gave some suggestions in our last meeting about contacting Dora. So I had emailed her, Dora Hernandez, to see if she's still interested in that. Still waiting to get some feedback on that. And some of you had also mentioned, what about solar and battery and all of that? So we went back and kind of revisited that as well too. So I've contacted a local solar company, and they're looking into a possibility of installing solar panels there and with the battery backup. And there's also another solar company called Mobile Solar that provides these power units as well too. So we're getting in touch with them and seeing what the possibility is to have some type of a solar system installed there to run the air monitoring system. So once we get something a little bit more definitive, I'll continue to keep you updated on that. And that's it for my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I don't see any hands. Let me just go through the videos. Okay, I don't see anything. At this time, I'd like to open it up to any other agencies to provide updates.
Maybe I'll just take this time to thank the agencies that provided most of the meetings. So thanks again to Kern Cog and to Kern County Public Works for their updates and their work today.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. There's a lot going on my screen. Thank you for your patience. All right. There we are. Our next meeting will be Monday, April 11th, 2022 via Zoom. And our agenda setting meeting is going to be Monday, March 21st, 2022. That is it for this. And at this time, I'd like to open it up to public comments. And then
it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Give me a second, Gus. Amy, just to confirm, there's still nothing on YouTube, you said?
Nothing on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and give your comment or question, Gus.
Yeah, sorry, last one. And I think this is just a follow-up from previous request from residents and myself of the, like, oh my God, like nearly $6 million invested in like low dust harvesters, tractors, etc. I'm assuming all those are within that 6-7 mile radius of Shafter, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was a question. If like all the money that has been invested, does it go to like other parts of the valley, or is stagnant or not? But is central to Shafter in the 7-mile radius.
Correct. It is central to anything that we're reporting in that tracker is Shafter centric.
Got it. Okay,
Just
so
for the-
anything you say the SERP tracker isn't within that radius.
Right. So all of the tractors you saw, that all of that. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Zong, I do see your hand.
Hi, yes. Just wanted to, I think this is also a question that just came up from Angelica in the chat. I just wanted to let everyone know, I just sent out an email as well as a calendar appointment for the agenda sending meeting. This is an optional meeting, and the next one will be on Monday, March 21st from 3 to 4. And you should have also received the calendar appointment. Both the email as well as the calendar appointment have the Zoom link, so the meeting will be on Zoom. And if you accept the calendar appointment, you should get a recurring calendar appointment for starting from this month through the end of June. So if you'd like to join in on those the agenda setting meetings, please accept the calendar appointments, and hope to see many of you there. Thank you.
Okay, we are almost done. We just want to review the action items with you. So if Laura or Amy, you can please share your screen. And then I want to invite Michelle if you'd like to read those action items. If not, that is fine. Once they pop up.
Okay. The action items of the current area regional goods movement operations will sustainability study presents will be updated to address the CSC's members' questions at the April 22nd meeting. And we will share that information and the study with more details, and the members should be able to review the presentation in advance and write with questions. So you guys check your agendas, because there should be a link in your agenda. Push on that little button. I was really excited about that little button. The district will also be releasing a new request for proposals for EF incentive measures. And in May, I assume that's in May, the CSS meeting will provide an opportunity to review progress on the budget and implementations of measures. Districts will send materials to CSC members in advance of the CSC meeting. So check your agenda again. The DPR will provide an update of pilot studies that are currently being implemented in Shafter at the April CSC meeting. Is that all of them?
Yes, that is all of them. Does anybody have any? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Does anybody have any?
Jessica noted us ensuring that we write down that the materials will be mailed out to our residents. So I will adjust that in the action items so that you know that you'll receive a hard copy in the mail.
Thank you
as
for
well as the
updating.
electronic materials posted on the website.
Thank you, Amy.
Jess, you were muted if you said something.
Of course. Are there any other corrections to our action items that we missed? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So these will be added to the tracker, of course. And we do review these at the agenda setting meetings, just a heads up. And with that, I want to thank everybody for their time. Thank you for the current COG presenter. And thank you, Air District. And then I will pass it to Jess to finish the meeting.
I will just say thank you, and thank you so much to Michelle. Like she said, clicking on those links is so much fun. There is a lot of information, but we definitely took note of providing some of the other materials. You know, we'll continue to provide them like we always do. We'll mail them out ahead of time. So whatever we get, we will give to you. But we want to thank Michelle for all of her work in prepping this agenda. I want to thank all of you for all of your input and curiosity. It is what helps drive this process. And I feel like we definitely made progress today. We have a lot of marching orders, and so we just appreciate all of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Adios.